And welcome to our virtual cafe. I should have a couple of cappuccinos on the way, hopefully, you never know. And a very nice place this is too, of course. Over the next few weeks, CTEC Plus will be sharing lots of tips and advice and encouraging you to connect and reach out with friends, family and colleagues as part of the hashtag Be Kind to Your Mind campaign. As we know, January can sometimes be a challenging month, and especially when we reach that difficult third week in January, which is right now. This year, the Samaritans are encouraging people to be positive and share the warmth with a brew rather than being blue. So sharing a cuppa and listening to our loved ones, friends and colleagues can really make a difference to someone who may be struggling. Some good advice there. Now, another reason people can feel low at this time of year is the gloomy British weather, which can really have an effect on our mood. Earlier this week, I was so lucky enough to catch up with former BBC weather forecaster and now Met Office meteorologist Alex Deacon, who was able to provide us with some interesting statistics about our weather at this time of year and whether it really does have an impact on our feelings. Let's take a look.
Personally, I mean, I love a bit of sunshine. I can't get enough of days like today. There's been few and far between so far this winter, but it's been an absolute crackerjack of a day today. It started off frosty. We've had blue skies all day. I love days like today. I love it in the spring when it starts to warm up as well, and you feel the warmth of the sun on your face. Do you know there's a word for that? The warmth of the sun on your face in winter is called apricity. I learned that from Susie Dent on Twitter. So there is a word for it, and it's to be appreciated. But I'm a meteorologist as well, right? So actually, for a meteorologist, blue sky days are a little bit boring. There's no clouds to look at. So I appreciate the gloomy days as well, because then you've got clouds to look at. So we always say, always look up. There's always interesting cloud formations to look at as well. So even on grey days, there's always something to spot in my book. So I'm always pretty positive about the weather. It's my job. I love it. I'm very lucky to have a job where every day is different, and I find it absolutely fascinating.
If anyone would like to do the Hope course, they can access it. They can contact Volunteer
That's the thing, isn't it? You can go from it. You don't have to go from your doctor. You can just, which is incredible. That's what's amazing. Normally there's hoops to jump through, isn't there? But with this it isn't, and I think, when people are in a really hard place, the idea of hoop jumping it's too much. So you need people, you need an organisation to kind of open up and kind of go, we're here, it's fine, rather than going, oh, you need to fill in this, or you need to do this, or you need to get in contact with your doctors, or do this. So it's incredible. I feel really lucky.
Lovely, thanks Lee. And I've just thought of one more thing. Universal Credit.
Yes.
You managed to apply online, didn't you, once you got your computer?
Yes, because that was something which I was struggling to do, because before the pandemic you could go to the job centre and do it, but then they were like, nobody come in, so it was really hard to, and also when I applied for my PIP, because that was a lengthy process, that was, it just became something accessible. I didn't have to book time or find out when my friends were not busy so I could use their computer or have them home. It was just something that I could do from home when I had the energy to do it.
And you managed to do it?
Yeah.
And how did that make you feel?
It's great, and also it's like when I was able to finally sort out online shopping. It's just little things. I'm like, I did it, or last week I was able to apply for free dinners for my son, and it's nice when you actually apply for something and you do it and it's done within 20 minutes. You're like, wow, so it's I feel really fortunate that I've got that computer to kind of help me access all these things.
It's really boosted your confidence as well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I did a foundation degree at Truro College for 2 years, and then I went on to Plymouth College of Art to do a bachelor's degree in animation. So autism affects me on a day-to-day basis, mostly through social interaction and being able to read people's tone of voice, their body language, and their emotion. So when someone tells me it, I take it word for word. I don't, if they're talking about sarcasm, or if they ask me to do something that doesn't really make sense, it won't make sense to me at all. After I left university, I was trying to apply for jobs for a long time. I went to interviews after interview after interview after interview, and I got almost constant rejection. Mostly because of my autism, either not being able to talk within the interview, or from some interviews themselves and the interviewers giving the reason that I couldn't have the job purely because of autism.
Celebrate International Women's Day. We have some very inspirational women coming up who have been kind enough to share their experience with us, which we are extremely grateful for, and the hope their stories are going to empower you.
About you, Jo, where have you experienced bias along your path?
I think the honest answer is, when have I not? I think as women, we experience bias all the time. And I've been thinking about this question a lot to try and come up with kind of like a one-word answer or a one-sentence answer for you guys. And for me, I suppose breaking the bias means making sure that there's no barriers to prevent women doing, or anyone doing, anything they want to do in this world. I mean, me personally, I am an aircraft mechanic by trade, or aircraft engineer. Yeah, and I cannot tell you how many bias you have to kind of overcome there, from derogatory comments to, there's women toilets, but all of them are locked apart from one, which is down the other end of the hangar, because else the men use the women's loos. The uniforms are all cut for men and not cut for women's body shapes. So I guess breaking the bias, we've got to eliminate this stigma that's attached to women, but not just women, I suppose. I mean, obviously it's empowering women. International Women's Day here now, but just breaking the stigma of all roles would be amazing.
A century on from when women got the vote in this country, and we are still talking about bias, and particularly against the bias that women feel, or people that identify as female purely by virtue of their sex. And certainly, as far as I'm concerned, I really do feel it is about time that the bias is broken, frankly. So Rosie and Jo, thank you so much for joining us. Gina, as ever, it's a joy.
If you're comfortable with who you are, eventually everything falls to place. Because if I have compromised who I am to get things, and when I didn't get, not only I wouldn't have got, I would also lost myself in the process. And one thing I'm glad about is I haven't lost myself in this process, despite the challenges and the bias that I face because of my identity. I haven't lost myself. I can look back and say, well, I can certainly hold my head high.
Amazing. That's fantastic. And speaking of challenges and going around the bias, are you working on any projects, or is there anything you'd like to share where you feel you've really challenged those biases or worked through them? or got
Yes.
around them, as you said?
Yes, because I feel that the fact that I came from the very bottom in terms of the very bottom in my idea, because I'm very aware of my own privileges, to be honest, even though as a black woman I do have some privileges. Crossing the ocean to come to another country, you know what I mean, having the opportunity to study in that country, find a job, build on and progress in your career in the economic pyramid, that's a privilege in itself. So I'm totally aware of that. But from coming from where I used to be to where I am now, at the time I always challenge, because I have a lived experience of what the bias can do to somebody's self-esteem, confidence, identity, acceptance, you name it. So I was very keen on, if I can avoid anybody else to feel that way, I will.
Found the listening ear sort of a great sort of thing to be a part of because of COVID, and because everything that was going on in the world, and especially if we could do a little bit of extra support for people that we work with, then why not? My personal experience behind it is many years ago, hurt my back quite badly, massive sort of life-changing sort of experiences that were for me, but there was nothing like the listening ear around. So for me, the listening ear is quite personal, and I think you'll find that from all the volunteers that are involved within the listening ear, that we can all sort of relate in one way or another.
I think, to help your colleagues and be there and support each other, is just a natural thing that we should do, really. For me as well, like Katie, I've had some personal experience. I've had some similar childhood experiences to some of the people I support. So I can relate to them, and I can empathise. So it's really important for me to be able to use some of my knowledge and experience to be able to support others if I can. So yeah.
For the listening ear, we're here as a listening ear. It doesn't matter who you are, what position you're in the company, what your concerns are. We're here to listen, and it's a non-judgmental, confidential support service where you can take that time, the time that you need, and it might just be listening, but we might be able to help and support and push you in the right direction to get the support that you need from the specialists.
Dan, thank you very much for waiting in the wings there. You're a real-life example of how Active Plus has helped to change the life of a veteran. Could you start by telling us about your time in the forces and then your journey with Active Plus?
I joined the forces at 16, 17 years old, fresh out of school. Wanted to run away and join the circus, but they wouldn't take me, so I joined the Royal Navy instead. I did 5 years in the submarine service, left in 2010 due to mental health reasons. Unfortunately, my mental health had got to a stage where it was so bad I had a suicide attempt, which was essentially the end of my career.
Right.
After that, I drifted for a few years, went back home to Kent, like nothing really worked out there. Going to and from, you bounce from job to job, going to the job centre, just trying to do anything, no real direction or anything like that. I came back to Plymouth, and in 2015, I'd been unemployed for a good 2-3 years, I'll be honest. And they said about the Active Plus course, and that it was veterans that run it and things like that. And when I first heard about it, very pessimistic about it. Another one of these job centre courses, they're going to make me rewrite my CV, they're going to make me apply for jobs, the same old thing. When I got there on the first day, I met with Dave Street, who's the team leader for Plymouth.
Right.
And he taught me how to shoot when I first joined the Royal Navy in phase 1. So an absolute totally bizarre meeting of people, years
Caught me off
apart.
guard with that one, flipping heck.
Yeah, caught me off guard. I was like, I'm sure I recognise this fella. It's and he actually taught me how to shoot when I was in basic training. So instant report, hit it off. Before my course had even completed, David invited me to come along and volunteer with Active Plus, which I absolutely jumped at the chance. For the first 2-3 years I was volunteering, other than going to the job centre, Active Plus was my main reason for coming out of the house.
Good afternoon. I'm John Adams. I'm a community coach with Positive People, working for Plus. The Positive People programme is a programme that's funded by the European Union and it's funded by the National Lottery, so the European Union Social Fund. And basically it's an employment programme that the end goal is hopefully get people in employment. However, we recognise that people are coming from very challenging, very difficult backgrounds and personal circumstances, so they may be some way from that final point. So we recognise mental health and well-being is a huge issue. So we've got a whole range of services and we have access to specialist providers who can support people to feel better about themselves, far more confident about themselves, to enable them to become job ready or achieve their personal goals. So that's what Positive People is basically about.
I'm working with many other people on a new project in the NHS called the Mental Health Framework, Community Framework for Mental Health. And that means organisations, including the NHS and voluntary organisations like Plus, working together much more closely to provide support for people with mental health problems and their families.
Having a place where you can just go and be yourself, it's difficult sometimes, I think, with family and friends sometimes for the understanding. I think things have improved as well in society with mental health, but just having that common understanding, it just makes you feel that you're not alone and makes you feel as well that I was being heard.
Yeah, to be honest, Plus, everything about Plus, the involvement we've had and the engagement has been really, really helpful. There's been a lot of support, signposting, guidance, and some good groups. So yeah, it's been vital to me. It's been the most crucial support I've had during the last year and a bit, really.
Hi, I'm Paul Cleveley.
And I am Joe Baker.
We would like to welcome you to the Project Search 2022 graduation.
Here are the interns of 2022.
Lainey Ashton.
Paul Cleveley.
Joe Baker.
Will Down.
Millie Eade.
Heidi Finch.
Lewis Jones.
Shannon Ollerman.
Scott Pomeroy.
Emily Woods.
During our time on Project Search, we have completed 3 different internships.
Here are some of us at work to show you what we've been up to.
Hi, my name's Emily and I'm working in the Level 7 restaurant at the moment and I am cleaning the pots by hand as the dishwasher's broken. That's what I'm doing at the moment, but before that I did pathology and then I did pharmacy first as well. The best thing about the job is free lunch and also making new friends within the team and all the new skills that you learn as well.
My day-to-day tasks are serving the pastry to our customers, using a till, doing the coffee machines, using the oven, and also all lots really. Been learning a lot really.
And the benefits Libby's brought to the business is excellent customer service. She offers promotions, she does displays, and she makes excellent coffee.
I enjoy the most serving into customers, using a till, and I like working with my staff, and also I have got an Employee of the Month for the certificate I have got.